That's a poorly coached football team. Watch their tape. Number one, since the start of 23, has anyone gotten better on the team?
I like that.
Jalen Hurts, in a matter of 20 games, has gone from an MVP in the Super Bowl to a liability on offense. And I know Jalen Hurts isn't lazy. Number two, watch that game from this past weekend. There's one person on that football team, 7 of the first 9 snaps, and I love Kellen Moore. He's a good friend of mine. What the fudge are we doing? There's this defense. This is a poorly coached football team.
Eagles Nation, we've got a problem. After an offseason filled with high expectations, the first 4 games of the 2024 season have left us with more questions than answers. Despite a talented roster, the team is facing serious struggles. And if things don't change, this year might not look any better than last year's disappointing finish. Stick around as we dive into the top 5 concerns for the Philadelphia Eagles and discuss what has to change if we want any shot at competing this season. One, Jalen Hurts' decision-making issues. Let's start with QB1, Jalen Hurts. After 4 weeks, he's already leading the league with 7 turnovers. Since 2023, he's accumulated 27 turnovers. And this season alone, he's thrown 3 costly red zone interceptions. The concerning part? Jalen isn't going through his progressions. If the first read isn't there, he bails out of the pocket, often rolling right, which leads to forced throws or unnecessary sacks. It's almost like when I play Madden and refuse to look for anyone but the intended receiver. Only difference is, this is real life. He's got to start taking what the defense gives him. Jalen's got to improve in this area if we're going to make a playoff push. 2. Nick Sirianni's role in offensive struggles. Nick Sirianni, the head coach, seems to be losing his grip on this team. After last season's disastrous playoff exit against Tampa Bay, Nick had a meeting with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. He's been pushed into more of a CEO coach role, letting offensive coordinator Kellen Moore handle the play calling. Now we're seeing remnants of Sirianni's old offense. Long developing plays without checkdowns, QB draws, and screen passes that aren't fooling anyone. In 2024, the Eagles are the only team left in the league that hasn't scored a single point in the first quarter. That's inexcusable. If this team wants to contend, Sirianni has to figure out how to set the tone early in games and stop relying on those deep shot plays that aren't working. 3. Nick's situational coaching. Sirianni's inconsistency in decision-making is a big issue. Sometimes he's too aggressive, like going for it on 4th and short at questionable moments, only to play it safe when the game requires aggression. A perfect example was in Week 3 against the Saints, where instead of kicking a field goal to tie the game 3-3, he gambled on 4th down and came up empty. These types of decisions are frustrating fans and causing the team to lose winnable games. 4. Vic Fangio's defensive scheme. The Fangio-led defense has been frustrating to watch. His off-man coverage is a bend-don't-break scheme, but right now it's breaking. The Eagles are playing off-man coverage 88% of the time, the highest in the NFL. Opposing QBs are thriving in the quick game. For example, Kirk Cousins dismantled the defense in Week 2, leading the Falcons on a 6-play, 70-yard game-winning drive. The problem? We're giving these quarterbacks too much space and not making them uncomfortable enough. The bend-don't-break philosophy worked in Fangio's prime, but the Eagles are struggling to get pressure without blitzing, which brings us to our next point. 5. Lack of pass rush and poor tackling. The Eagles' pass rush, which was supposed to be a strength, has been non-existent. With only 6 sacks in 4 games, we're ranked 28th in the league for sacks and 25th in quarterback pressure rate at just 29%. Even worse, our leading pass rusher, Brandon Graham, is 36 years old, and he's got only 1 sack. The Eagles signed Bryce Huff to a $51 million contract, but through 4 games, he's barely made an impact. To make matters worse, tackling has been abysmal. We missed 18 tackles in the Week 4 loss to Tampa Bay. It's hard to win games when you're missing that many tackles and not getting pressure on the opposing QB. These 5 issues, Jalen Hurts' decision-making, Nick Sirianni's shrinking role, poor situational coaching, Fangio's off-man coverage and our pass rush woes are weighing down what should be one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. If the Eagles don't fix these problems soon, this season could slip away.